And welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. Okay, looks like I've got everything in order except I need to make some beds. Okay, so let's go ahead and get a couple of these made. All right. And just throw that away and make up a boat. And we're on the way here. All right. Make sure there's nobody unpleasant around. Okay, we're good to go there. I should have left that there. Anyway. And we're off. All right. Start out as usual with the report on the size of the world. It's really big. No. Okay, the size of the world. Windows is reporting the world save folder as being 243 megabytes. And Minecraft is reporting it as 241.82. I'm kind of curious how big that difference is going to get over time. But I suppose we'll see eventually. We are starting up. For you, it's roughly a day or so at least between the last episode and this one. For me, it is significantly less because I've taken time to edit and render the previous episode, and of course so on and so forth. But maybe better over this way. No, I want to go this way. That looks better. Anyway, enough with that. The differences in time. I'm going to try to make enough of these ahead so that I won't have the problem of not having something to upload if for some reason I'm not able to record on any given particular day. Have one or two of these made up ahead of time and try to stay one or two videos ahead that way. And anyway, let's see. Okay, looking in the comments, viewer questions, and such like that I didn't get to last time because I was so busy complaining about video render times. Hearts on Fire asks, when are you going to do more Beyond the Foil stuff? He says that he likes the FarLands videos, but thinks there could be more vlog stuff. Well, I understand that, but honestly, really, the Journey to the FarLands is in large part a vlog kind of thing. The main difference is that they are longer than my normal vlogs, and you don't actually see my face as I'm recording it. And before anybody suggests that I set up a face cam or anything like that, bear in mind that I do not have a functioning webcam. Oh, well, granted, my laptop does have a webcam, and technically speaking it works, but it picks up some of the most terrible quality images that you can possibly imagine. Its best resolution is 640 by 480, and that's really terrible. I have an other webcam, a separate USB device, but it was made long enough ago that its drivers were written for Windows 98, and they are like basic 32-bit drivers, and in order to use it on this computer, I would have to have 64-bit drivers, and since the thing is a generic, no-name device from so very long ago, I doubt there ever will be 64-bit drivers for it. So Facecam is not likely to happen for quite some time. Perhaps someday I'll get a new webcam. Maybe I'll get one for Christmas, I don't know, but barring anything like that happening, I don't see me using anything like that. Let's see. But the Beyond the Foil series, trust me, it's not over with. There will be more of them. The main block in the way of that right now is, frankly, I haven't had quite the right inspiration needed to actually make one of those. And I'm sure that now you yourself are a creative person. You do video and you do music and such like. You understand creativity, I'm sure, because you are a creative person. And I'm sure you get what I mean when I say that I don't want to force something without the right inspiration for it, because I know that if I do, it's going to blow chunks. On the other hand, if I have a good inspiration for something and act on an inspiration, then I can quite possibly make something pretty cool. So that's, oh, road hazard. That's pretty much where that lives right now. There will be more Beyond the Foil. I just honestly can't begin to tell you when. Not right now. Let's see. It's not every day you see birds hanging out here on the beach. That's unusual. And quite a bit of it, too. Okay. Let's see. Around this way. Probably get over here just in time to derp up onto a pole for the night. Let's see. Okay, yes, there was more from Hearts on Fire. I'll get to that in just a moment. Well, that wasn't how I meant for that to work out, but what the heck. Really? Okay. Anyway, so that's where that is. There will be more of the Beyond the Foil, but not right away. I need to just be in the right frame of mind for that and have some kind of an idea of where I want to go with it. But it will eventually happen. And then he asks another question, a hypothetical kind of question, I guess. And let me stop and read this, or I'll never get it right. Look around for creepers first. Okay. All right. He says, you're leaving Earth in search of new civilizations. No rocket engines for interstellar travel, lol. What would you bring? What would you say if you found one, given that there is no language barrier? Or how would you try to interact if there was? Well, that's an interesting question. It's one that a lot of scientist types have been working on for a very long time. Part of it, the no rocket engines for interstellar travel, I don't quite get that. I mean, do you mean not using standard rocket type reaction drive things? And, or, you know, that the ship would have some kind of faster than light drive? Because it almost certainly would have to have such a thing if you're going to encounter an alien civilization off of Earth. Really, you would. Otherwise, you'd never live long enough to get anywhere. Even traveling at near relativistic speeds, you wouldn't live long enough to get anywhere, let alone encounter an actual alien intelligence, unless, of course, they happen to be in our neighborhood. As for what would I bring, well, aside from the very basics, such as plenty of everything needed for life support needs and food and so on, for the ship and whatever crew it had, probably a large collection of books and videos, both to pass the time and perhaps inspire something, I don't know. I think the biggest part of it is the communication thing. You know, what would you say if you found one? Well, let's see. I don't think I would start with "take me to your leader" or anything quite so melodramatic as that, or comical, depending on your point of view. I don't know. I think I'd want to know as much about them as I possibly could. Let me just go ahead and make a vote. I would. I'd want to know more about them as much as possible. There you go, dirt boat. Really, because without knowing about the more I knew about them, the more I would understand what would be the right way to communicate, what would be the worst possible thing to say, you know, that sort of thing, and how our two species could possibly live in any kind of a peaceful way. That would be important. As for how to communicate, if there was a language barrier, well, I'll tell you what, scientists have a whole lot more of a clue about that than I do, because there are scientists that have been working on problems like answering that kind of a question How would you communicate with something that was not human? That for all intents and purposes you had no common frame of reference? Honestly, seriously, how would you communicate with something that was non-human with which you had no common frame of reference? Like, for example, dolphins on Earth are considered to be intelligent by many scientists. The question being, how could you possibly establish a meaningful two-way dialogue with such a creature? Just simply because it is so different from us. Its environment is completely different from ours. Its physical makeup is sufficiently different that it's probably not going to have an easy time understanding things common to us, like walking or manipulating things with our hands and so on. How would you communicate with such a thing? Because communication requires some kind of common ground or common understanding. You know, if you find yourself in a foreign land around people that don't speak your language at all, you can, by some means, by coming up with hand signals or pantomiming or drawing pictures and whatnot, you can work out ways to communicate with them. But even then, there are limitations. Say, for example, you find yourself in a foreign land among people that you cannot communicate with. You don't know their language. They don't know yours. And you're trying to communicate with them. And what you're trying to say is, I need to use a telephone. But they are sufficiently behind the times, technologically speaking, that they don't know what a telephone is. And so all you try to communicate about needing to communicate on the telephone goes in one ear and out the other because they don't know what a telephone is. And believe it or not, there are plenty of people like that in the world today. So it's entirely feasible that that could be true, that could happen. And you extend that same idea to communication with an alien species, some other form of life that is not from Earth, and really, you have the same problem. You know, you try to, it's the same thing as saying, I need to use the telephone, to somebody who doesn't know what a telephone is. You know, you can't possibly meaningfully communicate without enough common ground so that they at least know something of what you're talking about. How you would find that common ground, I don't know. I've seen a lot of talk or writings that assume that we would use some form of mathematics to establish communications with a non-human race. But while that's entirely reasonable, because mathematics could be considered to be a universal language, I personally wouldn't know how to use it to start communication. I really wouldn't. I mean, I could throw mathematical equations at them, represent them in some way, and so on, but I wouldn't begin to know how to interpret their response. That would require a lot more expertise in such a thing than I have. And unless, of course, you accept the idea of something that shows up in science fiction a lot, Star Trek in particular, and that is the universal translator. Some kind of a device that could somehow read mental impulses and translate them into a language that we can understand. And I should have been working out a hidey hole already. So I think I'm just going to throw down a torch or two here. Maybe not quite so close together. And just do this. All right. Okay. So really, that's about the situation. Without some kind of a universal translator, I wouldn't begin to know how to communicate with something that I had no even remote hope of a common ground or frame of reference with. Anyway, I appreciate the question. It was interesting, thought-provoking kind of thing. I'm curious how all of you would communicate with something that couldn't possibly understand normal, everyday human thought because there is no common ground at all of any kind. In the meantime, we do have one bit of common ground. We're trying to raise money for the Child's Play charity, and you can help do that by going to tinfoilchef.com/donate and using the chipping widget there to donate to Child's Play charity. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.